I've got some thinking to do here. I've got a double terrace to go on at the end, and I'm just going to see if that's going to work, or whether I should edit one of the houses out, or a block of two. This is where I really get an idea of how things are going, and I'm trying to make a decision as to whether to take out a block of terraces here and bring this piece over so that it makes a shorter terrace. This is another page in my sketchbook where I've drawn the two panels as square, just giving some thought to how they might work together. The left hand panel being the sports day and the right the urban scene. I've got some prints here of some alternatives for the right hand set of terraced houses. Having made the decision to use 7 houses, I'll now need to go and blend these end houses in properly. The telegraph pole isn't straight and the drain pipe runs off. It's about 9:20 on Friday, and I've completed both sets of terraces and the roadway. After a long day of work, I've managed to get this print done, but before I finalise anything, I'll work on the other panel so that I can make the compositions work together properly. There are things that I can change in this, but I'm quite happy. I use a sketchbook to note down my thoughts for work, and this is the original thumbnail sketch for the urban scene. These are the contact sheets for the photographs I'll be using in the rural scene. I'm using a different approach on this panel than the urban piece. I'm going to start off by stitching together the crowds watching the harness racing, then use photographs I've taken of the field to build up a middle ground to foreground area, and then populate the foreground with people with dogs or something similar to that. The next step for the rural scene is to stitch together the crowds watching the harness racing, and that'll be pretty much the middle ground of the piece. After a few hours of effort, I've managed to stitch the crowd scene together. Just a couple more pieces to go. So that's going to form the middle ground of this piece. This is quite an interesting development. I've now printed off the middle ground and put it onto a sheet of paper to work out the proportions of the piece. But I do like this long portrait piece of paper here as a format. I'm not sure that I'll keep it like this, but it's something to bear in mind for the future. Having got this print, I'm now going to use a sheet of layout paper over the foreground and start sketching in where I'd like different elements to go. I'll take these from the contact sheet, make some decisions about what I want and where, and I can do that much more quickly using drawing than I can on the computer. When I've made those decisions, I'll take the files, go back to the computer and start putting it all together. This is my first chance to look at the pieces side by side. Neither are finished, and both at the moment are quite minimal, which is appealing. As they stand, I'm quite happy to leave them as they are, but that isn't really what the work is about. I can now add elements, keep adding elements until they're really quite full, and if I find that I've added too much, I can just take them away again. It's an interesting process of being able to add and take away until I'm happy with what I've got.